No. So I was saying, welcome and hello, everyone, to another Monday talk. And I want to talk to you and share with you today this original square art form, right? That has a bit of illustration, it has a bit of photography, some type, some design layout, and it's in the sweet spot between marketing and artwork. And I'm talking about mm, album art and records in general. So I'll quickly give you a glimpse of what I'm saying. So these are beautiful 12-inch records from different times, right? And yeah, so we've all seen these iconic images somewhere, right? Maybe on iTunes or must be anywhere, like a poster. But there's something so beautiful about just holding them in your hand, and something really real and visceral about it when you experience it. Even just putting on a record and being in that space, the sound just transforms the whole space. And you often have, like, you can see the tracks at the back, you often have a poster, you have, just notes by the artist, and it's a whole experience in itself to enjoy music in a way. Another one I'll show you is by Supertramp, and the album is called Crisis, What Crisis? Sums up really well what situation we're in now with the pandemic, with all of us sitting at home in the middle, and the world, and a strange world all around us. A special quick mention to Clem on that last one, because this was a Secret Santa gift by Clem, and that's how I got into Supertramp. So this talk is all about just the history of vinyl, the art covers, and how I got into it, and a few of my favorites. So let's jump right in. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. We have Pallavi, you'll have to give me access to share.
Done.
We have a presentation, so get your notepads and pens ready. Right. Yeah, I hope you can all see it. Yeah?
We can, yes.
Perfect. All right, so let's begin with a few influences and a few just things that excite me, right? And that'll kind of tell you why I got into this hobby. And let's be honest, let's call it what it is. Let's call it an obsession. And I think in life we should all have at least one or a few obsessions, and this is one of mine. So you see me here in the middle in my bald child look with my dad and my mom. My dad looks like a disco music producer with his funky shirt. And music has been pretty much something that came with my childhood. So I have a pretty musical family, people who sing, they play instruments, and even those who don't, we have a good ear for music. So we kind of are always appreciating music. We're curious about music, and most of it was, of course, classic Hindi films, classical music, lots of Kishore Kumar, of course, because of my dad. And then we have a few other things which are analog technology, which for some people who don't know, I'm fascinated by. And this whole sort of thrill of pre-owned or used things, right? So it could be comics or books, even small figurines like you see at the bottom, but it's all about just finding those and just the story that goes with it. Like someone might have scribbled something on it, someone took care of that object for a while, and now you have it, so you're almost taking that journey forward. And in that sense, I think records, it was just a matter of time because I got into it, because vinyl and those artworks in a way are like time capsules of those times, right? So yes, you have the music, you have the art, but along with it, you have so much. It's a glimpse into the culture, the politics, almost the society of that time, like what was acceptable, what was not, what trends came, so on and so forth, right? And yeah, and another thing is that it's not something that's only in the past. It's not something there. Like last year, there were about 27.5 million album sales, records that were sold in the US, and that accounted for about 20% of the whole album market. So it gives you a kind of scale of, for the last 15 years, it's been a graph that has been growing, and this trend, which seemed like a very hipster, like a niche thing, has actually become a very, very real phenomenon across around us. And even for me personally, you'll see, of course, I'm enamored by the past decades, but you'll see that that this hobby has really taken me. I've found so many different genres in music that I didn't know before. So it's been about all of that discovery for me, like getting into this hobby. Right. So let's begin from where it all began. So as you can see, these were 78s, they're called. So they work at 78 rotations per minute. And I have one here also, if you can see in my hand. And this one's at a different speed though, but the format is pretty much the same. So this is how songs came in the past. So we're talking about the 1900s, the 20s, and you had a song on one side and a song on the other, and they're about 3 to 5 minutes long each, and it's a single song on each side, and that's why these songs are called singles. So you must have heard the artist has dropped a new single or something. So that's where that term comes from. And like you saw, the packaging was really simple, really basic. So you had like a cardboard paper brown sleeve with almost always the company's name on it, maybe the artist. And then what you did was you took all of your records and you put it into this photo album kind of looking album. And that's where the term album actually comes from, right? And the fanciest that you could get with it was sort of this Beethoven kind of album, which comes with like a pre-selected, with a selection of all these songs from Beethoven or any classical musician that you want. But that was it. That was as great as it got. And yeah, so moving on, a few things happened. Columbia, the record company, discovered a way to put lots of tracks on a big record. So they made it from like a small record to a 12-inch. And another thing happened, which is Alex Steinwise. Now, Alex Steinwise was a graphic designer, and he was hired by Columbia as an art director. And he has this eureka moment all of a sudden, and he goes with a photographer to the Imperial Theater in New York. And they just take a picture of this marquee. They ask the theater one afternoon to like change the letters of the marquee. And this is how it begins. Guys, if I want, you can't keep going for a long time. Yeah, so this is some of Alex Steinwise's early work. And as you can see, it was all illustration at the beginning, but all different moods and different trends. So you have a few jazz records, there's a Robin Hood one, and they were all illustrated at the beginning with like a leather bounding on the side. And through the 30s, 40s, and even early 50s, because there was a technological constraint, you couldn't have photographs mass produced very easily. And so most of the records you'll see are illustrated. So you have beautiful illustrations, and you can see the trend as they go through the years of a few evolution and some things that happen. You also have famous artists like Louis Armstrong right here, or you have Mambo with the cats, which is quite funny, right? And records were, yeah, then you got into photographs, but records depicted kind of a slice of life, everyday American kind of family, like the perfect life. And they weren't even only about music. So you had exercise records, you even had explicit content. It was just a medium where everyone was getting their music. This is another one, which is a golf instructional by Arnold Palmer, and it comes with a 24-page booklet. So the record actually teaches you how to play golf. I have another one here on screen, which is really a famous format, which is like an audio book. So it came with books, and it was meant for kids. So this is of course Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and as you can see, it comes with. So yeah, of course it comes with the record, but it also comes with an inside that has almost the whole story, right? And like I was saying, it's about those small things you sort of find in there. So we have a crisp copy of a poster that says join the Star Wars fan club. Of course, if you send this now, there's no mailing address for it, but just a fun thing there, right? Then just give me a moment. Yeah, then we come to the era where photographs are prevalent, and you have celebrities and artists on the covers. They're mostly always looking away into the horizon. You have lots of examples like that. You also have Elvis looking right into your soul. And that's a format that's replicated quite a lot. So you see it even in today's records, right? So we have Simon and Garfunkel to Adele all the way, and that format is pretty common. Right, then the 1960s happened. Now the 60s are a very crucial time in history, and the civil rights movement is happening. The whole summer of love, the art scene, the hippie culture is happening. And this is the sort of art form that comes with it, right? And yeah, so what are these albums actually inspired by? By a few things. They're inspired by this type, which was developed by Wes Wilson, and almost this melty kind of type that you see all across the 60s psychedelic posters. And it's heavily inspired by Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau is, it literally translates to new art, and it was a movement in the late 1800s. So in the late 1800s was also a time of change for the world, in the sense that we had discovered electricity, the world was getting into industrialization, and artists just thought that everything was looking ugly. So to combat that, what they did was they made things with utility look beautiful. So you have a door handle, you have the French subway entrance, you even have an ad that looks just gorgeous and beautiful. Now compare that with the posters that were happening in San Francisco, or the Fillmore, to be specific, the theater, and you see the inspiration clearly. And it's often said that the 1960s movement is Art Nouveau on acid, which it almost certainly was. Right. Then we come to another very important period, right? And the Beatles are at their height of their power. It's 1967, and we have this. Now, as you saw, all the records before that, and there were instances leading up to it, but most records looked really plain and they looked simple. But the Beatles were at the top of their game, and they could do anything that they want. Creatively, budget wasn't a constraint, which is always nice. And they came up with this over-the-top, crazy LSD-inspired album. You must have seen the picture for sure. It's called Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. And on screen, you can see all the people who are in the picture. And the bottom ones in gray are actually the ones that were omitted for some reason. And yeah, so this album just changed how records looked like. It became conceptual. It became artwork. Like, this becomes like an art piece. Even the inside, if I can quickly show you, is beautiful, right? You have the gatefold cover with the Fab Four, and yeah, one of those revolutionary moments in history. All right, so these two guys had something to say about the artwork. They say, when we saw Sgt. Pepper's, we went, oh my gosh, there's another way of doing this. And who are these guys? This is a duo called Hypnosis. Aubrey Powell and Storm Thorgensen, and these two are again pioneers in the rock album art world with Hypnosis. So they had this duo for 15 years, and they produced some of the most, you'll hear me saying it a lot, but iconic albums. So here's just some of it. I want to show you some of them. We have, of course, Atom Heart Mother by Pink Floyd. You have the creepy cows again looking into your soul. Beautiful album art. We have The Dark Side of the Moon, and this is actually where, again by Pink Floyd, but this is where art really transcends, right? I mean, you must have seen this somewhere. You might not be into records, but it's always nice to see where it comes from and what the original source is, or how it actually looks. We have Animals, again by Pink Floyd, beautiful industrial park, and they flew this giant pig, and he was called Algae. And the funny story is, on the second day that they were doing the shoot, they forgot to get the marksman, or the shooter who had to shoot the pig down. So the pig just went floating away into the sky, and they had to cancel flights at Heathrow because of this. So again, a fun moment. We have Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin, another fantastic album. And this picture also took a lot of days. It's a composite of different images made through different days. We have Black Sabbath with Technical Ecstasy, some crazy art again happening ahead of its time, of course. AC/DC. Yeah, this one was, How Dare You? And the inside actually opens into this. So again, they're using it like a beautiful canvas. Peter Gabriel self-titled album. Right, then we come to this. Again, another small break, please. Any questions, anything so far? Are we okay? Are you hearing me fine? Should I go on?
Totally.
All right, then we come to these two goofy guys, right? So who are these two goofy guys? This is Kraftwerk, which means power station in German. This is Ralf Hutter and Florian Schneider. And so early on, this duo, they played krautrock. Now krautrock means cosmic rock, and it's a totally experimental, beautiful art form, a subgenre of rock, but it came in the 1960s and the 70s in West Germany. And there's so many good bands, and you should listen to some of them. There's Neu, there's Kran, there's Tangerine Dream, you might have heard of. So these two started playing traditional instruments with in a krautrock band, but something changed when they switched, right? So they had a studio called the Kling Klang Studio, and they treated it almost like a sound lab, where they started producing music that was only made from instruments and machines, and no kind of physical, no physical instruments, but they were all machines and computers and different sort of things. And you come up with music that's like this, again, very ahead of its time. So they come up, they use things like vocoders, they use drum kits. They actually have a patent for the drum kit. They use sequencers, and they come up with music that's just, no one's ever heard of music like this before, right? And this is the beginning of electronic music, of synth pop, of techno. It all comes from here. And what I really like about their music is that although the base is industrial, or it's meant to be music by machines, it really is so human and warm because of its melodies and the progression that you have. So you have even their topics, like they have the official soundtrack of the Tour de France, or you have Kraftwerk with Computer World, or Autobahn, where they're talking about just the highway, or they're talking about Trans Europe Express, which is about trains. So even their concepts and so they're pushing the limit always, right? And the concept is all about the future. It's about Germany is kind of sick of the war, of course, and they're looking forward to the future. So all of this comes from that. Another beautiful conceptual album, it's called The Man Machine, but it's called Die Mensch Maschine in German, which literally means the man machine. And the first track on this is the robots, which says we are the robots. So what they were doing here was they were saying that this music is made by robots, and they actually put dummies on stage that actually played the music. So before Daft Punk did the whole "we're robots" thing, someone was already doing it, and doing it well. So even their look, like they're not the macho German guys that you think of, right? They're really these casual dudes that just came up with electronic music. Right, and I said how influential they were. So you'll hear lots of their influences throughout music. And their music has also been sampled quite a lot. And what that means is, in a sample, you take a certain section of a music. It could be a beat, it could be a melody, and you use it somewhere in your track. So if you've heard Talk by Coldplay, it has a melody at the beginning that goes something like ta-na, ta-na, ta-na-na-na. Right? That is computer love from Computer World. So lots of instances of how their music has been used and has been an inspiration. What you're looking at on screen is kind of a phenomenon called crate digging or record digging, where these DJs or these music producers, they go into these warehouses or these stores of records, and they're going through almost all of them, playing them and trying to find that one small loop. It could be a second, it could be 5 seconds, with that loop that makes an iconic song. Now, I had a whole section dedicated to sampling and how that works in this presentation, but it was becoming 3 hours long, so we had to skip that. For a moment, coming back to Kraftwerk, what I want to do is, you might be thinking, okay, I don't care so much about German music. I'm not into electronic music, but Kraftwerk has influenced you in some way. And I'd like to make you listen to this track, which, and you can kind of guess where you've heard this before. And Vishank and Naveed, you know it already, so be silent for a while. Let's see if you can guess, and I hope the audio and everything works well. Yeah. Any guesses?
The Hrithik inside Yash is dancing.
No, no. Yeah.
The koi mil gaya one.
Yeah.
God damn, koi mil gaya. I forgot. Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, you did listen to In Panchiyo / Om 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 Om. So yeah, you see, you don't even know, and you've heard it before, right? And this is the track. You should actually listen to the original one, this one that I'm playing. It's all about trains and Europe and transcontinental travel. Kunal is definitely going to love this one.
I'm going to.
Oops, it wants to play again, of course. All right, then let's take a moment and just look at a few. I'll take you through some iconic records again, and we'll just see what kind of worked for a certain time or how the evolution was also through the years. So these are all chronological, and they're just some fun, interesting albums that I thought I should show you. So we begin with the Beatles' Yesterday and Today, which is a compilation album in the US. They were bored of doing something simple. They went into the studio and they had this avant-garde idea, and they dressed up in lab coats and had baby butchered parts, right? What could go wrong? The album was completely banned, as you can imagine. And it was they stuck a very, very plain looking photo of them on the album. And so if you have the original, or if you have even the one that has the other cover on it, they're really, really expensive. We have the Velvet Round and Nico with, yeah, and Andy Warhol, of course, did the cover for this, where, yeah, the cover is actually a sticker, so you can peel off the yellow banana to reveal the inside, which is pink. We have the in the Court of the King Crimson, one of the first prog rock albums, beautiful art again. We have Led Zeppelin with their self-titled, and this is, believe it or not, the Hindenburg disaster. And the artist who created this after a few years regretted using the image because so many people lost their lives. This is what we know Led Zeppelin by, the album cover. Miles Davis with Bitches Brew. Santana with Abraxas. Controversial at the time, of course, because you have a nude Black Virgin Mary talking to the angel. We have Funkadelic's Maggot Brain, another funky, cool cover. They just put a woman's head on some soil. Why not? The Rolling Stones with Sticky Fingers, another Andy Warhol creation. The zip actually does move up and down. David Bowie, can't include enough covers by him, but again, someone who just transcends generations and is so influential, right? So you might not know the album, but you might not know the album Aladdin Sane, but you have seen the face paint and you know the image. Another beautiful, beautiful pose. We have Heroes by Bowie. We have The Man Who Sold the World. Again, he's doing things ahead of his time. He's doing what he wants. He's setting the trend. He's pushing the boundaries. Yeah, another one of his, if you see here I have in my hand, is Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. Beautiful, beautiful album musically and also, yeah, just visually stunning. Led Zeppelin again with Physical Graffiti. We have a Latin band, and again, they're trying something different with like a product focused kind of packaging of the album. We have the Sex Pistols with a classic punk rock looking album. Fleetwood Mac Rumors, another elegant, wonderful pose. Legendary album, even this one. We have the Stones again with Some Girls, and this is This is actually a die cut cover. So all of these are cutouts. The main cover is cut out, so you can put different inserts of different artists in there. The Clash with London Calling, beautiful image again with the black and white strong rock phenomenon. This is of course inspired by Elvis Presley's first album. You can see the similarities and debate on who did it better. We have Joy Division with Unknown Pleasures. We have Grace Jones, Night Clubbing, chic, elegant, clean, beautiful image again. Duran Duran with Rio. Now we're getting into the 80s, so we have Whitney Houston, another beautiful picture. Got to have some Madonna in there, so this is True Blue. Nirvana with the baby picture, we've all seen this one, Chasing the Money, a take on capitalism. The Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die. Think Tank, the artwork is by Banksy and the album's by Blur. We have Kanye with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Now this album had quite a few covers because this one was censored and blurred out when it came out. But there were other versions that are less explicit. We have Floral Shop, which is a vaporwave album. Now, Arushi, who was an art director with us, had a beautiful talk on vaporwave. So that's a whole other genre and a whole other rabbit hole. And most of these things are, I think the point of this talk is just to tell you a bit about what I've discovered and what I've been into in these 2 or 3 years. And of course, it's just me even scratching the surface. So any of these topics, I think you can get into and just lose yourself in there. We have Lizzo with Cause I Love You. She's always been vocal about body positivity, and it's just another beautiful album, and she's saying it all on the cover. We have Tame Impala with their latest Slow Rush, which came out last year. This one also opens up and it has the sand kind of flowing, passage of time kind of concept. A few others that I have here to end with. You got to have one Daft Punk. This is Random Access Memories, the famous helmets. And opens up to, of course, their synthesizer that they use live. We have Ratatat LP3, another vaporwave inspired. You have the rainbow, you have the Greek statue. Couple of bands that I'm into because I discovered new genres and new music. So these are new artists, of course. This is on an independent label and it's called Moon Duo. Again, another very spacey kind of rock record. Last but not the least, this is a Belarusian band that does dark synthwave music and it's sung in Russian. So what's not to like? And the album art also is beautiful again. This is a real building in Minsk. Right, so that about sums it up. I think I've gone through a few and taken quite of your time. So if we have any questions, anything you'd like to know.
How many?
Hope again that
Okay.
Hope again that I was audible. Yeah, go for it.
How many?
Go ahead, Kunal.
I was saying, how many records do you have, like in total?
I had the same question.
It's an interesting one, right? So when you begin, it's always relative. Like I remember the first record that I had was this Ghulam Ali Ghazals record, and I kept playing it over and over and over because I had no other record. So that was something I listened to like the whole weekend, and there was nothing else. The funny story about that is that was also the first album that my dad bought on cassette, and he has the same story. So he bought the cassette, and he kept playing that album over and over. But now the collection has grown to about 160-ish records that are in front of me. Yeah, and like I said, it's an obsession, right? So it only gets worse.
So do I expand the more rare ones and of course the ones that are more iconic and all that, do they come like really expensive or are they like readily, like are they available? Like how do you acquire most of them on your travels or are they online or are they like what?
Yeah, I think most of you might have had these questions. So yeah, I'll tell you a bit about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so part of my collection, like a small part of it is things that came from relatives or people who didn't have a record player anymore, and they were kind enough to give me some, but it's rare to find those. There are record stores everywhere in the world and even in India, but a few lesser here. So it's about finding those right ones, and yeah, on my travels, of course, I'm on the lookout for these records. And you can also order them now with the whole online thing, although it is a lot more fun to go to a store, browse through the records, find your record and get it. So I would say it's a mix. It's a mix of so the Indian ones are of course from India, but I found them from different places. Like there's also many independent sellers who do it. It's not a shop, but like independent sellers online. And there's a really important database called Discogs, if anyone's into it, which catalogs almost every record there is, and you can see pricing, and it's a marketplace and everything in itself. About the price now, you're right. Like the rarer the record is, like the Beatles album, I said with the it's called the butcher cover. So that, because it's so rare and there's so many and there aren't many copies, that would easily be around, if I had to take a guess, around $400, $500, right? Because that's really, really rare. The other ones are more about the quality. So a scratched record, even though it's a famous record, is not going to be expensive, but what's the point of it, right? Because you want it to play, you want it to sound good. And those records, I would say, are between the $20, $30 range, or even lesser sometimes if you're lucky, or even some in the 15 to 20. And yeah, the thrill also is about finding that right deal or that right price and keep looking for better ones. So yeah, if that answers.
Yep, it does. Santan, you were asking something.
Yeah, a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you buy like, of course you buy it for the musical taste and everything, but do you buy stuff because you just love the album art as well? Just the art of it?
For sure. So the first two that I bought, the first one that I bought actually was the Sgt. Pepper, not this one that you saw, but it was a Sgt. Pepper picture record. So there's a picture of the album on the record itself. And I purely bought it because I thought it was interesting. And like I said at the beginning, I was already fascinated by album art or just this the musical art in general. So it was like the early few were just from an art perspective. I know that even Yash has a few album covers purely because he likes the art on it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Try to select it for art.
yeah, Yash has been my Mumbai supplier for a while. He browses and has been kind enough to.
Does Yash also have a player? Like, do you
No,
play?
I don't have a player though, but I do
You just
collect
admire.
covers, yeah, for art though. I mean, they don't work and stuff like that, but I have some 15, 20 of them.
Nice.
But Yash is a player, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yash gets these records for us.
So you plays them like mouth organ, basically.
Yeah, so yeah, that's how it all began. And then I was like, now we got the carrot, so we need to buy the horse.
Yeah.
Nice.
What player do you have?
So the one I have is it's an American company called Fluence, and with that I have Yamaha speakers.
Nice.
A bit difficult if you can see. I'll try to turn the laptop around. It's going to be a bit tricky, but tell me if you can see it.
Oh yes, we can.
Yep, that's the
Nice.
humble setup with a custom-made cabinet just for these.
Very humble.
Yeah, you see the space is now filling up, so
Yeah.
we got to do something about that.
Anyone else, guys, have any questions? Anything?
Me.
Please go for it.
Yeah, Pranay, love your talk, but I just one thing I want to know, like, why didn't you cover the Bollywood or the Indian music part of I mean the art of vinyl?
Yeah, that's true. I think we should do a part 2 for it, because this was more about the history and how it began, and a few trends in Indian music kind of go with with the trends that are going. But I did show you some at the very beginning, so if I can just scrub through and quickly show you a few. Like this was the one for Dawn, right? Which is again an iconic one. Yeah, but like I'm saying, even this just scratches the surface. So I showed you some that are more rock based because that's the kind of music that I'm into. Yeah, but we should do a part 2 maybe with an Indian focus.
Definitely.
Always on the cards. Yes, anyone else?
Also, like there are two sizes of the record. So what is the difference and how does it work? Like, I mean, I also have a player and I know the difference, but I'm sure like people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. So the small one that I showed you, which is called a 6-inch, plays at 45 RPM, which is rotations per minute. And the bigger one plays at 33 and 1/3 RPM, which is the big one. Now, the way a record is made is that if this is a circle, you have from the end, you have like a spiral that goes into the center, right? And that is what your song is actually written on. So there are grooves like that in the record, and the needle is going through the groove and kind of telling you what the music is. It's converting that into an electrical signal that goes into your speakers, and that amplifies it to put it out. But the speeds are purely because there were different forms of technology. Like the early ones were, like I said, were 78 rotations per minute, and they had those. They used gramophones, or if you must have seen those cranked gramophones, right? That have like a crank on the side. Those usually work on 78, and those weren't even plastic. Like this is called vinyl because it's plastic, but those were actually made of shellac, which is a very brittle material. So it was very hard to keep. That's how it began, though. There were also, even before that, there were tubes. Like there were tubes of music, not even a record, and you played the tube somehow with the speaker. So yeah, most modern record players will come with 2 speeds. That's 33 and 45, which is good enough to play almost every record.
Nice, thank you.
Go for it. Anyone else? Sorry. Just if you, not even questions, if you just want to say something, go for it, or we'll end it.
Awkward silence now, which means
Okay, let's end it.
yeah.
So Pranay, which is the recent album that we have bought, like the most recent one?
Yeah, I can quickly show you that. Till if anyone else has any questions, quickly jump into it. I'll quickly get that one. Because yeah, you should see the artwork again. Don't worry, I'm back. I hope there's some people here. Yeah, so the one this one actually got ordered. It's and I keep them in the plastic thing, so there might be a glare, but this is Yellow Magic Orchestra with YMO. Sorry, Yellow Magic Orchestra with yeah, with Solid State Survivor. Sorry. Yeah, this is the latest one. And something that I'm really looking forward to is so George Harrison has a 50th anniversary album coming up. So he made an album about 50 years ago called All Things Must Pass, which is a legendary album in itself. So there's a 50th anniversary release of that coming up. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And on Yash's demand, I'll also show you quickly. I grabbed a few classic Indian covers as well.
Thanks, Pranay.
Yeah, as you can see, I had them on the side, but like I said, it was becoming a 3-hour presentation, so bit too hot to handle in these times. We have the iconic "Kya tumne kabhi kisi se pyar kiya?" Yeah, not the Himesh curves. You guys know that Himesh had a curves, right?
I know it.
Huh?
True.
I know
Knows
it.
it.
With Urmila Matondkar.
Santhan watched it in the edit.
Yep. Santhan loved it.
He watches it every year.
Yeah. On the anniversary.
There's a crazy song to that. I don't remember, but it became like a huge hit.
Tandoori Nights.
Very nice. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yes, that's my time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for coming.
That is really
Nations.
very interesting.
Amazing.
Thanks,
Fabulous
Pranav.
talk. Pranay.
Very different and very interesting, definitely.
The nomination though.
Yes, we are prepared for that. If you can see the screen.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Congratulations.
Subtle.
Fabulous. Great job, Pranay and Riya. No pressure, but standards have been set.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, but just like we said last time, right? Something that you like, just something that you think is fun, just tell us about it and we'll be happy.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Let's see you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.